You're watching Journalists Hangout on Sunday, and I've been having conversation with Babajide Kolade-Tutuju as well as Adekunle Yusuf. Before we went on the break, we were talking about what the IMF said as regards the excess liquidity, which they claim weakens the Naira further at parallel markets to 950 to dollar. You know, the IMF warning Nigeria's economic policies is too loose to support the nation's currency. But then the Chief Executive Officer of the Center for Promotion of Private Enterprises, Muda Yusuf, says disagrees, saying otherwise. So we continue with you. Thank you so much for hanging on and helping us to understand what is, the ailment around the Naira. Because you want to say something.
These are difficult times, Doctor, and many people are already even saying that they regret voting for the government because of the pains that they are going through. Again, the IMF and to some extent the World Bank are not convinced that political pressures will not force the government to backtrack on some of these policies. Where do you stand on this? Do you see the government reversing some of these policies in response to political pressures and anger on the streets?
Well, no two economies are the same. And when we are talking about economic management models, we should also be able to adapt it or localize it to our own environment and to our own context. In some of these environments that the IMF and all this World Bank domicile or stay in or operate from, some of the variables that we are contending with in this environment, they don't exist there. I'm not sure that they have so much issue of corruption as we have. I'm not sure that they have so much issue of slush funds in the system as we have. And of course, over the last few years, we have had a highly dysfunctional foreign exchange policy environment, which has led to a situation where we have huge pent-up demands. We had huge maturing obligations. I mean, one example is that of the airlines. So all of this will naturally exert a short-term pressure on the market. These are some peculiarities that we are dealing with. And because you also need to worry about the social and political context, you cannot dismiss it. Because, you have to remain in power. You have to carry the people along. You have to also be sensitive to the social context of economic policy. So you cannot dismiss that. This is why I feel that, yes, we have this model, but we should also define limits of this market economy. We should define the limits. Because if you leave it entirely to this market forces and all, we'll be having this volatility almost every week. We cannot manage an economy that way. We have to manage it in a way that will reflect our own reality. The same thing with the fuel subsidy thing. Because of the impact of fuel price on the citizens, on businesses, on SMEs, on welfare, on transportation, we cannot afford to leave it entirely to market forces. Or this so-called international crude oil price. Once it's getting to a particular threshold, we should apply the brakes. If you need to subsidize at that point, let us subsidize. It's not a crime. There are some data I was looking at. In 2022, because of the terrible situation with energy prices, globally, there was energy subsidy of $1 trillion globally, according to the International Energy Agency. on fossil fuels. Unfortunately, our own kind of subsidy was so riddled with so much corruption. Otherwise, once it comes to energy, when it comes to food, when it comes to transportation, government has a responsibility to protect the vulnerable segments of the society. Absolutely. That is the way it is. So, for me, we should not allow ourselves to be pushed entirely into any particular economic management model. We apply it as far as we go and examine the peculiarities of our environment and modify it as necessary. So that is my view. Interesting.
Well, very quickly before I let you go, the president of the Association of Bureau de Change Operators, Aminu Gwadabe, said that the suspension of the FX sales to members of his association should be revisited to, in order to ease the pressure on the official market. Do you share the same opinion with him? Very quickly, if you can do that in one minute.
No, I share the same opinion, but not handing over CBN Forex to Bureau de Change. No, I don't think that is not obtainable now. And it should not even be encouraged. What I will say is that they should also have a window through which they can also accept Bureau de Change, all this retail, diaspora remittance, and a lot of them like that comes in small amounts. They can define the threshold, let them be able to access it and sell it to people who require $200, $1,000, $2,000, They should be able to operate at the retail level, just as you have in the banking system.
Right.
You have the big banks, you have the commercial banks, you have the microfinance banks. The same thing should apply to the BDCs. They should be able to operate freely at the retail level, the foreign exchange market.
Right.
But not that we hand over a CBN foreign exchange to them, no. And I don't think that's what they're asking for.
Right. Chief Executive Officer of the Center for Promotion of Private Enterprises, Dr. Muda Yusuf. Thank you so much always for your keenness of insight on this. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Right, let's move on to